Hundreds of Palestinians clashed with Israeli forces across the West Bank during day of rage protests called by Palestinians over U.S. policy shift on Jewish settlements. The United States last week effectively backed Israel's right to build Jewish settlements in the occupied West Bank by abandoning its 4-decade-old position that they were inconsistent with international law, a stance that may make Israeli-Palestinian peace even more elusive. Palestinian protesters hurled stones at Israeli soldiers in various Palestinian cities in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. The soldiers fired tear gas and stun grenades to disperse the crowd. Protesters in Ramallah set ablaze an effigy of U.S. President Donald Trump. Clashes broke out between a small group of protesters and security forces in Bogota. Demonstrators, some with covered faces, hurled rocks at security forces as riot police sprayed them with water cannons. Clashes erupted after Colombian President Iván Duque held a 2-hour meeting on Tuesday with a protester steering committee, but neither side was able to agree on a clear path forward. Animal rights campaigners painted their bodies in bright colors to protest outside a Bangkok mall where the controversial PETA Zoo has been operating on its top floors for over 30 years and known for housing Guanoi, the only gorilla in Thailand. Activists and people for the ethical treatment of animals, or PETA, urged the owner to retire dozens of primates and other wild animals and move them to sanctuaries. According to a China media group commentary which said Hong Kong residents were calling for an end to the violence in their city, roundly rejecting any attempt by lawmakers in Washington to stir up a color revolution. According to the China media group commentary, Hong Kong residents have awakened to the necessity of putting on a united front against the violence being perpetrated by the rioters running wild in the city's streets. A large number of these residents have taken to the streets to clear away roadblocks and rubbish and attend rallies expressing their support to the Hong Kong police. Thousands of students rallied on the steps of the University of Havana commemorating the 3rd anniversary of the death of revolutionary leader Fidel Castro as the island confronts regional political uncertainty and an increasingly hostile U.S. government. The colorful show highlighted excerpts of Fidel's speeches denouncing imperialism and calling on regional solidarity in confronting U.S. policies in Latin America. The Trump administration continues to tighten sanctions against Cuba, squeezing the government's ability to secure financing for imports and hitting the vital tourism sector. A new report released by Human Rights Watch Americas said the Chilean police activity during protests which took place from October 18th onwards showed serious violations of human rights, including excessive use of force on the streets and serious abuses after arrests. The organization released the report after a 2-week visit to the South American nation and called upon the police for urgent reforms and recommended mechanisms necessary to strengthen supervision of the police.
Con el general Rosas.
Mohammed Abrach is using graffiti to reflect the changes happening to his hometown of Tripoli as people continue to take part in protests which have been going on for more than a month. Abrach believes painting graffiti on the city walls is the best way to contribute to the ongoing protests. He chose a building in the heart of Al Noor Square where the protests are taking place. Near Baghdad's Tahrir Square, which has been the ground for a protest movement that remains unbowed despite the deaths of hundreds of demonstrators in a government crackdown, The site is now filled with protesters setting up a wall of wishes. However, one small post-it note was stuck to the wall amid thousands of other sticky squares, which said, "When will the bloodshed stop in my country?" This was written in neat Arabic. A 19-year-old Indian-American student was sexually assaulted and then strangled in Chicago. The brutal murder has shocked the community in the United States. The teenager, originally from Hyderabad and an honors student at the University of Illinois, was found dead in the backseat of a family-owned vehicle in a campus garage on Saturday. The assailant, Donald Thurman, has been arrested from a Chicago metro station. In a recent interview, Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn declined to apologise 4 times to the Jewish community. Although he has apologised over anti-Semitism remarks in the past, it began with Corbyn being quizzed on Brexit, his tax plans and borrowing. But the discussion shifted on anti-Semitism after Ephraim Mavis's intervention, claiming that Mr. Corbyn was unfit to lead the nation. The Labour leader was challenged over the rabbi's allegations that Labour's claims it is doing everything to tackle anti-Jewish racism was a mendacious fiction.
Questioning whether 6 million Jews.
2 of Brazil's former presidents, a chief justice and heads of both chambers of Congress rejected the country's economy minister's claim of the government taking draconian steps if leftist opponents stirred up protests such as those in Chile. Speaking in Washington on Monday about turmoil in neighboring countries, Brazil's economy minister Paulo Guedes said he won't be surprised if somebody called for an AI-5, a measure decreed by the 1964 to 1985 military dictatorship to close Congress and suppress dissent. Tesla CEO Elon Musk's lawyers have made it clear that Musk had no intention of settling a defamation suit filed by a British cave explorer before the case goes to trial on December 3rd. British cave explorer Vernon Unsworth is suing Musk for calling him a quote-unquote pedo guy in a series of his tweets. Musk had posted those tweets after Unsworth accused Musk in a CNN interview of grandstanding by offering to help Unsworth's diving team rescue 12 boys and their soccer coach from a cave in Thailand when it was flooded in July 2018.
Still what we call autopilot as opposed to...
The Secret Service said on Tuesday that the White House was temporarily locked down after it was found that there was a potential violation of restricted airspace. Nearby roads were closed and no one was allowed into the compound, and the US Capitol was also temporarily locked down. However, no aircraft was observed and the incident may have been an errant blip on a sensitive radar. According to financial industry insiders in Hong Kong, listing of Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba will bring fresh blood to Hong Kong's capital market. This Alibaba made a strong debut on the main board of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange on Tuesday, with its share price rising by 6.59% on the first trading day. Alibaba made a strong debut on the main board of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange on Tuesday, with the rising share percentage. A man and woman convicted of a 1985 murder of the woman's parents while they were studying together at the University of Virginia have been granted an unexpected parole. Jens Soring, the son of a German diplomat, and Canadian Elizabeth Haysom, who were a couple at the time of the murders, will be released after decades in prison. Soring and Haysom were convicted of the brutal murders of Haysom's parents, Derek and Nancy Haysom, in a case that drew international attention. New York City has become the first major U.S. city to ban all flavored e-cigarettes. The city council voted and passed it by a majority of 42 to 2. After the vote, however, vaping supporters were kicked out of the hearing venue as they shouted and tossed fake money over the balcony, saying, "Big Tobacco, thank you." The ban outlaws the sale of flavored e-cigarettes and flavored e-liquids in New York City, including mint, menthol and wintergreen e-cigarettes and e-liquids.
We will now have introduction and reading of bills.
All bills have been referred to.
I'm very proud that we're voting on this.
A powerful snowstorm swept across Colorado and into the U.S. Midwest on Tuesday, blocking roads and causing hundreds of flight cancellations, altering travel plans for many hoping to fly or drive to Thanksgiving feasts this week. The storm dumped a feet of snow in parts of Colorado and buffeted the Denver area with wind gusts of 45 miles per hour. Nearly 500 flights were cancelled and more than 350 delayed at Denver International Airport on Tuesday afternoon. Huge snow loads collapsed from the mountain near a tunnel between Swiss town of Campo and Ceretino. The video was taken by a member of the Servizio Invernale, a team that operates in the winter to check road conditions and monitor the local avalanche risk. There were no reports of injuries or damages. Firefighters and locals were seen celebrating in New South Wales when rains brought the much-needed relief to tinder dry Australian bushland. Video obtained from a volunteer fire crew at the Leongatha Fire Brigade showed locals and firefighters dancing in Roland's Plains, 30 kilometres away from Port Macquarie, as rains fell around them. Fires have raged across New South Wales in the past week as 80 bushfires burnt across the state. According to local media reports, the area is expected to see rain as weather officials report cold front moves across parts of New South Wales.
This is what the locals do.
There we go. Some happy locals now. Now. The rain dance.